Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There are moments in history when God doesn't just speak through scripture, or through signs in the heavens, or through the thunder of prophets. There are moments when God speaks through a life. And what I need you to understand is this: your life is becoming one of those voices. God is about to use you as proof. Not the kind of proof that debates or argues, not the kind of proof that demands attention, the kind of proof that simply is. The kind that silences questions without saying a word. The kind that makes even doubters lean back and whisper, "Something greater is moving here." You may not see it yet, but heaven has been shaping you for this exact purpose. While you've been walking through fire, others thought you were just surviving. But in reality, God was engraving His name into your story. Every trial, every season of silence, every moment you thought was wasted, it was all being written as evidence. Think about it. There are people who only believe in what they can measure, who only trust what they can explain. And yet, when they encounter you, explanations begin to crack. Your endurance doesn't make sense to them. Your joy after heartbreak doesn't add up. Your peace in storms feels unnatural, and that's because it is. It's supernatural. God has set you apart as a living demonstration. Others may preach sermons with their words, but you've been preaching one with your perseverance. Others may try to argue doctrine, but you've been showing God's reality by how you rise after every fall. And this is why the weight on your shoulders has felt so heavy. You've been carrying more than just your own battles. You've been carrying proof. And here's what I need you to really hear. You didn't volunteer for this proof by chasing attention. You were chosen because you didn't quit when no one was watching. You were chosen because you stayed faithful when no one rewarded you. You were chosen because, even in moments when your faith felt fragile, you kept walking anyway. That's what makes your life such powerful evidence. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Do you realize how rare that is? In a world that celebrates shortcuts, you didn't skip the process. In a culture that glorifies performance, you chose authenticity. In a generation where many are searching for validation, you kept searching for truth. That kind of soul becomes undeniable proof. This is why people feel a mix of awe and confusion around you. They may not know how to articulate it, but something about you unsettles their explanations. And that's exactly the point. Your existence was designed to reveal what intellect alone cannot. God is about to take your story, the scars, the recoveries, the lessons, the growth, and place it in front of people who desperately need to see that He is real. And when they look at you, they won't just see survival, they'll see divine fingerprints. It's almost like your life has been a canvas, and every painful brushstroke was preparing a masterpiece. At first, it looked messy. At times, it looked like ruin. But now, the image is becoming clear. And when people step back to see it, they'll realize they aren't just looking at you. They're looking at God's work. And here's what's wild. You may feel ordinary. You may look at your own reflection and still see cracks. But even those cracks are part of the evidence. They prove that God's power doesn't need a perfect vessel to shine. They prove that grace is strongest in the broken places. That's why your testimony carries so much weight, because it's not about theory, it's about transformation. It's not about ideals, it's about impact. You're not pointing people to a distant God. Your very life is pointing people to a God who walks into the middle of human struggle and makes beauty out of ashes. So don't dismiss the pressure you've been under. Don't resent the seasons that broke you down. Those were the chapters that gave your proof its credibility. Without them, your story would be inspiring at best, but it wouldn't be undeniable. And God doesn't just want inspiring, He wants undeniable. You've noticed it, the way life has started arranging itself in patterns you didn't design. Things you thought were finished are reappearing. Paths that once led nowhere are clearing. It isn't coincidence, it's placement. And when it unfolds, people will reach for explanations, but none of them will hold. Because what's happening through you can't be traced to chance or human effort. That's when they'll realize they're not just looking at you, They're looking at God through you. And my dear friend, that is the season you are stepping into. When God begins to use a life as evidence, it doesn't happen quietly. Proof demands an audience, and you'll begin to notice that more eyes find you, not because you asked for attention, but because what God is doing through you refuses to stay hidden. People will notice without you asking for it. Some will watch from a distance, trying to trace the steps that kept you standing when others with the same weight fell. Some will press in closer, looking for a blueprint they can copy. And some will turn away because the sight of you dismantles the excuses they've been leaning on. This is the double edge of being proof. It comforts the hungry, but it confronts the complacent. It gives hope to those desperate for God, but it unsettles those who would rather pretend He isn't real. But hear me, you're not responsible for their reactions. Your assignment is not to convince, it's to live, to walk faithfully in what God already placed in you. Because proof doesn't argue, it simply exists. And existence has a way of preaching louder than words ever could. History shows us something simple. Undeniable proof never argues. The scientist doesn't need to beg people to believe in gravity. Objects falling speak louder than words. A musician doesn't convince anyone of their gift. They play, and the sound carries its own authority. A tree doesn't explain how it grew from a seed. It stands tall, and its roots prove the process. In the same way, you won't need to defend yourself. Your survival, your endurance, your transformation will do the talking. And here's what will astonish people most. You won't just survive, you'll flourish. Proof isn't fragile. It doesn't barely make it out. It carries abundance with it. Your life will begin to reflect a wholeness that no storm could cancel, peace that doesn't make sense, joy that isn't tied to circumstances, strength that doesn't come from human resolve. This is the kind of demonstration God has been cultivating in you, and it's why certain opportunities felt delayed. Heaven wasn't holding you back. It was preparing you so that when the unveiling came, the evidence would be undeniable. But with this unveiling comes weight. Being proof is not casual, it's holy. It means your choices ripple further, your presence changes atmospheres, your integrity matters more than ever. This isn't to pressure you, but to remind you that what you carry is sacred. You're not just representing yourself anymore, you're carrying revelation. And yes, that may draw envy. People may try to explain away your story, dismiss your process, or even criticize your rise. But their resistance is just another layer of evidence, because only undeniable proof creates that kind of unrest. So don't dilute yourself to ease their discomfort. Don't second-guess the assignment because the spotlight feels strange. You weren't preserved this long to retreat now. Instead, lean into it. Let your life keep speaking. Let it keep testifying in boardrooms and living rooms, on quiet mornings and loud evenings, among strangers and among those who thought they knew you. Every space you step into becomes a stage for God to reveal Himself, and you don't even have to force it. Because the same God who wrote your story is also the one presenting it. And when He presents a life, no opposition can bury it, no scheme can distort it, and no power on earth can silence it. You are walking into days where your presence itself will answer questions people didn't even know how to ask, where someone will look at you and without you saying a word, feel hope rise inside them, where the doubter who swore they'd never believe will wrestle with the fact that you exist because your story removes the option of denial. And this is just the beginning, because being proof isn't only about validation, it's about multiplication. The evidence you carry will plant faith in others. Your endurance will spark courage in those who wanted to quit. Your transformation will ignite hunger in people who thought they were too far gone. This is why God preserved you. Not just for survival, but for influence. Not for titles or applause, but for impact that stretches further than you realize. So walk boldly into this. Not arrogantly, but boldly. Not apologizing for the grace on your life,